Remember to like and subscribe. My wife cheated at a bachelorette party. Her phony friend revealed her. I'm a 36-year-old male whose 34-year-old wife cheated on me in 2019. I was taken aback, and I wanted to share my experience because my reaction was deemed unhealthy. After being played for a fool, I wanted to know why certain women were so untrustworthy. My wife had demonstrated a lack of loyalty to me, despite the fact that I did everything I could to keep her pleased. My wife and I married 6 years ago, and we were happy from the start. When I met her, she was a STNA nurse and I worked in accounts at my firm. We rented a decent house and were not in serious debt. We were good with money management, so spending wasn't an issue. We communicated effortlessly, worked well as a team, and getting physical at night was simple because she was simply stunning and kept her looks up all the time. Our family had gotten along well, and I was almost best friends with her brother Jacob. He worked as the custodian at the hospital where she worked because of their mother, and we were always on the lookout for her younger brother. My wife was definitely a self-sufficient woman who could always think for herself. She was always confident and demanded respect from me and Jacob. We didn't have children, but I thought she'd be an excellent role model if we did. Her problem was that she surrounded herself with harmful people. The way they talked about each other made me think of them as rivals rather than friends. They would gossip about each other all week, but then party together and pretend to be sisters. Not only that, but they'd get into terrible fights. Especially when they were inebriated. I can't tell you how many times they fought with each other. The following week, they would embark on a girls' trip for vacation. I had been informed that girls covertly compete with each other, so I assumed it was normal. It may be irritating, but I took the good with the bad. I just assumed it was normal for the 5 of them. The romance occurred just before her friend Erica was about to marry. It's customary for them to hold a crazy party before the wedding, so my wife and her friends left that night to throw Erica the party they planned at the hotel. I didn't bother waiting up for her because I knew they'd be out all night. I was just about to hop in the shower the night after the wedding when I heard my phone ring in the bedroom. I wasn't sure if that's what I heard, so I just jumped in the shower. When I got out of the shower, I noticed I had 6 missed calls, all from the same number. This seemed strange to me, therefore I did not return the call because I had no idea who this guy was. The number rang again while I was in my living room, and even though I didn't recognize the number, I chose to pick up. When I answered, no one responded, and all I could hear in the background was a girl chatting to a guy. I hung up after saying hi 3 times. They then called again, and I quickly picked up the phone. This time, the girl responded, and I realized she was one of my wife's friends. I asked her buddy, whom I'll name Jasmine, why she was calling me. She instantly began calling my wife insults and accusing her of cheating on me during the party. I was terrified, but I still insisted she didn't know what she was talking about. She claimed to have known and had documented it as documentation to show me. When I asked her what she was on about, she told me everything. She stated that they had hired some males to come to Erica's party and dance for everyone. He kept coming back to my wife because she was unusually nice to one of the guys, and he had crossed the line with her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but I knew this kind of behavior wasn't unusual. Jasmine stated she would transmit the evidence to my phone after hearing me not say anything for a minute. I told her to send it to me, and she told me to hang up as she prepared to do so. After approximately 5 minutes, she sent me 4 video files, and when I saw them, I slumped on my couch. I called Jasmine back, and she asked whether I got it, and I responded yes while tearing up. She started calling my wife insults again and apologized for her behavior. I asked her why she would do this to someone she said was her sister, but she never responded directly. She just stated that my wife and her friends were a bunch of hypocrites and that they were false. I asked how she got my phone number, and she told me that my wife had called her from my phone seeking for directions to a restaurant for her dinner party. She stated that she was done being their buddy and that Erica was also doing awful things. Jasmine suggested I talk to my wife about it, and I said that she was at another friend's house at the time, but I was definitely there. I was in shambles after hanging up the phone. I knew I had to face her because there were 4 full recordings of my wife with another man. But I had no idea what my life would be like after that or how she could do this to me. I had never trusted these people, but I never imagined it would happen to me. I'm not even invited to these events. As soon as my wife walked through the door, I addressed her. When I asked how she was, she answered she was tired but well. I told her I never asked her how Erica's party went and if she had a good time. She was a little taken aback, but she said it was all right. I informed her that Jasmine had a good time and had even videotaped her to show me later. She looked terrified and questioned what I was talking about, So I showed her the videos of her and the guy having a good time that night. Her jaw fell, and she shouted in horror at what she witnessed. She begged me not to leave her, explaining that Jasmine was doing this because my wife had replaced her as one of Erica's bridesmaids with someone else. She claimed that she and Erica had a heated disagreement about it, and that Erica had refused to invite her to the ceremony. When I heard this, I could see why Jasmine was upset, but not to this extent. It didn't matter to me because I told her I was getting a divorce, which I did. Both of our families wanted us to reunite throughout the divorce. Even though she shouldn't have done it, I was told it was a special night for them and I wasn't meant to know. That was supposed to be for the bride, I informed them, and even if she was, I wouldn't stay with her. I couldn't believe my wife was doing this in public with this guy. Even after I divorced, I couldn't leave the situation alone. I contacted other dancers and inquired about attracting women. I even asked females. The women replied no, but they knew females who did it for additional money. When I asked the guys, they stated they get girls all the time, especially the bride. According to one man, it wasn't always like this. But once the ladies began to desire it, it simply became normal. When I told my friends about it, they advised me that it was harmful and that I should stop talking to them. I'm not sure, I think it was simply how I handled it at the time, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I couldn't get those films out of my thoughts, especially because the guy was aware that she was being secretly videotaped. My ex-wife is currently living in her own apartment near her workplace. I used to see her family every now and then, and they still begged me to forgive her because of the circumstances, but I couldn't. I hate to admit it, but Jasmine was correct when she stated my ex-wife was a phony friend, but her love was also a fake. I've heard she doesn't regret it now. Thank you for reading thus far, and please stay tuned.